It started with a melanoma, as I understand, the most serious skin cancer on my lower left leg. This was operated on quickly, but right after the operation, I was told that it was so widely spread that we could only hope that there would not be further troubles. Then the histology showed that there was trouble, so I got local deep X-ray treatment, cobalt treatment, and such. I was in remission for about a year. Then the cancer, unfortunately, spread to the lymph system. Another serious operation, and I had chemotherapy afterwards for 7 months. Then I got another warning sign before Christmas. Meanwhile, one of our sons got a letter from a friend from America who called his attention to this food supplement and said he should recommend it to anyone who might be interested. He spoke of it first to his own family, to me. We immediately contacted the manufacturer. We took my medical reports to show my history, and a very nice lady explained to us what to do and how to do it. She said that 20 to 25 pills should be taken daily in order to achieve any effect. I have been taking the pills ever since. First I was told that I would have to keep on taking them for at least 5 years. And if there was no sign of the disease during that period, then I could hope that it had gone. It has not reappeared since. So all I can say is this stuff is wonderful, with wonderful effects. And if one has suitable perseverance, it achieves results.
They found something on my lung in 2000 during a lung screening. It turned out I had lung cancer. Later they operated and my upper right lung was removed. And I then received chemotherapy. As for this substance, a member of my family already knew about it and had been taking it. They had a very good impression of it. This was why I started taking it too. In fact, I began taking it at the lung clinic after I first discussed it with the professor. I've been taking it ever since, and as far as I know, I will have to take it for the rest of my life. What was your basic illness?
Well, a cancer of the large intestine, a malignant colonic tumor.
Was it operated?
It was operated on April the 20th, 2000, and I received chemotherapy for half a year.
Where and how did you come across this product?
Right after the first chemotherapy session, and from that day on I take it regularly. It's part of my daily routine. I attend controls and they say the healing is practically unprecedented. Even the scar has disappeared on this last visit. So for the time being, I'm fine.
I needed a kind of curved tube, the sort that you find in the back of fridges. When it happened, when it exploded, you know, at that moment there was a terrible bang, and I could see that everything was all brown everywhere. It wasn't clear that it had reached the flesh. That only happened when the rotten burnt parts were removed by the doctor. Then you could see it reach the bone. It was a third-degree burn. My chest, my lower arms, my face, my nostrils, they were all burned. I was lucky because my daughter and husband arrived, and they immediately took me to Székesfehérvár, where I was treated. The next day, this friend of mine dropped in and brought with him 2 tubes of something. From that day, I took it to show the doctor, because he treated me for the next 30 days, with re-bandaging and what have you. And after the 15th treatment, let me emphasize that with my friend's cream, I began to heal better and better. It was wonderful. It worked marvellously. The burn started to disappear. It was amazing. Try to imagine it. Imagine how it was after the accident. It was discoloured. I'm not too vain at my age, creeping towards 100, if you pardon the exaggeration. But anyway, I simply didn't want to look like a leprechaun, and it simply all disappeared. I think I must have used 5 tubes of this cream in all, and this is how I look now. When Albert Szent-Györgyi visited Budapest, he formulated a rather graphic metaphor during a lecture. When someone cuts their hand and the wound begins to heal, then in practice the cells grow until the healing is complete. He added that if we could find the brake that controls cell growth and maintains it to the adequate level, then we might just find an antidote for cancer. It's the case that you're searching for this braking mechanism yourself? Well, yes, I am. The failure in the tumour cells is the very lack of this control. Yes, the subject of my research is a little bit different. I'm interested in how the body tries to eliminate and destroy the abnormal cells. How does the body eliminate them? What does it do? We recognize that there are certain small molecules in our circulatory system that fortunately can prevent the growth of tumour cells in the majority of people throughout their whole life. Actually, I noticed a contradiction, which I'll now try and explain. I think it's well known that when people are infected with the AIDS virus, the effectiveness of the immune system is diminished. The level of this is actually quite drastic. And doctors noticed that patients who had received transplants and were later diagnosed as having AIDS, for example after a kidney transplant, indeed, interesting, the renal graft was not rejected, even though the usual immunosuppressants were withdrawn. It means that the immune system of AIDS-infected patients is reduced to such a level that it's not capable of rejecting an alien organ. I reasoned that if the immune system, as we understand it now, plays a significant role in anti-tumour defence, then with AIDS-infected people, where this impediment collapses, all varieties of tumour should appear more frequently. What's interesting is that clinical observations do not back this up. We can say that the occurrence of tumours does not increase in AIDS-infected patients, in spite of the collapse of their immune system. This leads to the conclusion that the immune system, as we understand it, does not play a significant role in anti-tumour defence. When did the research begin? I became involved with the topic in 1987, and in 1991 I reached the point where a friend of mine, who knew about the improvements to the theory, advised me to take out a patent for it, besides handling it as a scientific problem. After all, I was not investigating an anti-tumour medicine as such, but a possible defence system for the human body. Because once we accept the idea that the presently understood immune system does not play a basic role in anti-tumour defence, it then has to be explained why tumours do not develop in the majority of people throughout their lives. There's a line of logic, which I won't describe in detail here, that leads to the only explanation, that we must assume there is another defence system, one that's not yet known. Then the reasoning was not to find out why cancer developed, but rather why cancer does not develop. That's right, exactly right. I read the scientific literature on what is known about tumour and normal cells, and an interesting and well-attested thing caught my attention. Namely certain small molecules such as amino acids, monosaccharides, nucleic bases, to name just a few, then circulate through the human body and enter healthy and tumour cells. Yet the healthy cells absorb only the necessary amount, whereas tumour cells absorb as much of these molecules as they can. This is a well-known observation, and it's used in tumor diagnostics. These characteristics of cancer cells cause the accumulation of the indicator material. Our hypothesis took this as its starting point. We assumed that this characteristic might be lethal to tumor cells, because some of the accumulated molecules may kill the cells if their input is in a greater amount. From this point, the route was easier, because we examined most of the small molecules found in the circulation. First we found 13 molecules, and later 3 more, which destroyed these tumor cells. Then it's almost a self-destruct mechanism, isn't it? Well, I mean that these molecules were identified as killer molecules. The significant fact is that they were not selected voluntarily, according to some scientific theory of ours, but empirically through experiments. Now, interestingly, when the group of molecules was defined, obviously they had to be administered into the circulatory system at an increased level in precisely the right dosage to destroy all present tumor cells. The goal was the restitution of a balance, since the cells were gone. There are various methods and procedures to achieve this goal. An infusion could become the possible mechanism whereby a large dosage of these molecules would be continuously transferred into the body. I expect that tumor cells will be destroyed on a large scale. This innovation has been in progress for years, but the stable infusion now exists. Then the other project, which is already commercially available, is a pill that contains the same substances as the infusion, however, in a much smaller quantity. The main purpose of distributing this pill is to give an option to those people who want to take something to protect themselves against the disease of cancer.
Olyan embereknek, akik tehát védekezni akarnak a daganat kialakulása ellen,
Is it some kind of preventative product? Primarily it is a preventative product, but it has been commercially available for 5 years and many ill people take it and have been taking it since it contains the same materials as the infusion.
Ezért nagyon sok beteg is szedi, illetve szedte.
I had frequent stomach aches and a malignant tumor was diagnosed. They operated on the pancreas, but a tumor remained on the liver. And there were problems with the kidney, the spleen. In fact, all the inner organs were diseased. My doctor gave me a 100% disability certificate, so I should be pensioned off. And he suggested these pills to me. He advised 14 pills a day at the beginning. Then there was an article in the Nőklapja, which is a woman's magazine, and a telephone number was given. So if someone had a problem, they could telephone. This is how I got in touch with András and Judit Zsákai, and I made an appointment, sent them my discharge report and other medical records. On their advice, I have been taking 30 pills a day instead of the previous 14, and since then, thank God, I do not feel ill anymore. Indeed, I feel well, and it's only looking at the medical reports that I'm reminded that something is wrong. Another good thing is that the records show that there's no deterioration. There's still a tumor on the liver, but it has not got larger, and I have no symptoms. So I'd be happy to sign for another 30 years in face of the Grim Reaper, if that were the way of it.
It was easier to distribute the tablets as a food supplement, but we wanted to make the infusion a drug, This means we must go through the procedure step by step according to the rules stipulated by the National Institute of Pharmacology. It's a much longer procedure because a lot of tests have to be done. Does that mean that a food supplement is something that anyone can buy as much as they want in pharmacies and eat as much as they feel without side effects? Well, let's get back to infusion, back to talking about it as a medicine. There are animal experiments. What animals are used and what kind of experiments are there? Experiments with mice that have leukemia and also other mice that have so-called solid tumours. We only experiment with animals if there is a clear result in the cell culture, which must be probed on the animal level. This is a precondition for human tests. Doctor, what is Shamul famous for? Well, Shamul is a 12-year-old fox terrier. We've been treating him since the middle of February 1999. The diagnosis, which has been confirmed by biopsy, is mastocytoma, a malignant form of leukemia that mostly causes skin tumours. And what's the treatment? We started the Tulasol infusion treatment in the middle of January 2000. Since then he's received 62 intravenous infusions, and finally when we couldn't fix the vein, he took his infusions orally. It's quite fantastic. It's wonderful. But the oral infusion has nearly the same effect as the intravenous infusions. The effect of the Tulasol infusion was extraordinary as the tumours started to get better, to reduce in size, to contract, and the stiff tumours softened within a few days. It is obvious that this was the positive effect of the Tulasol infusion. You can start human tests after the animal tests if you have a license. How does this work? This is related to the question, when will Tulasol infusion be a medicine? If the so-called preclinical dossier is put together, however, I should stress I'm not an expert at this. This is a completely different field. I know that it requires a stable infusion, with which toxicological examinations have to be made, animal experiments have to be made, and when all the results are put together, it must be filed with ODI, where an ethical committee decides whether the results justify human trials. Who's financing your research? Immunol Limited. It's a company located in Budapest. They developed the pill and the cream we haven't mentioned yet, and they work on the infusion too. Did you find Gyula Kulcsár or did he find you? Well, the truth is, it's a third explanation. We wanted to develop a medicine using Dr. Kulcsár's discovery, and the company was established in close connection with it. I would say that the company was created after the invention. This means that you give material support to this research. Certainly we support it materially, but not only financially. Many of us who own this company dedicate our daily activities to this innovation. Then you absolutely believe in Dr. Kulcsár's theory. We absolutely believe in it, and we also feel it's an honour that Dr. Kulcsár also believes wholeheartedly in our work, because he's the inventor of this great thing, and we could be the lucky people who will make it a reality. I think this is a great idea that Gyula has researched, and I could compare it to the discovery of antibiotics. I think it's a well-known story that penicillin was brought to our knowledge completely accidentally through the unexpected behavior of a bacterium culture. The other great thing, looking back now, simple as it seems, of fighting tumours by using materials which are part of our daily nourishment. I'm convinced that this will be a discovery of worldwide importance and will give back the health of many people who unfortunately we cannot yet cure. I always wanted to be a researcher, so as I studied, this was my goal. There were three themes I was interested in. The first was the genesis of tumours and ways of protecting against them. The second field was ageing, and the third was creating a microscope that has greater resolution than an electron microscope, which actually I'm not sure can be realized. However, the limits of our knowledge always expand. Something that's believed to be impossible can turn out to be a reality, but I would have to have been a physicist to research this field. But the other two fields remained, and I had the opportunity to start working with tumour cells in 1987.
Well, he has a brain tumour.
Has he been operated on?
He was not operated. It was diagnosed on CT and MRI, and there was no operation. We went to many places, but it would have been too dangerous to operate on him, and we decided against it. Then his condition became very bad last October. He was getting dizzy when he lay down and could not turn his head to the side. Then we asked for another CT, and it turned out that the tumour had grown. Then we contacted Immunol Limited.
How did you find them?
I went into a drugstore and asked for advice. I was told they themselves couldn't help out of the blue, but perhaps they could give me a telephone number, and we could try to talk to them. We reached them by phone, I sent over the final reports, and they calculated the appropriate effective dose of tablets.
And?
Then we started to take them last October on the 16th. We have been taking it for almost a year, and now he's very well. He does not get dizzy, the headaches have gone, he's a good student, gets good grades, even though he's receiving individual education. He's stronger, he's gained weight, he's grown. All round he's fine. He takes 10-12 pills of Sulavit a day.
What subjects do you like at school? Mathematics. Really? Yeah. Do you have a computer? Yeah. Do you like working with it? So, this is the case when all this many tumour cells arose from just a few cells after 8 days without any kind of treatment. In the next illustration, we see the same after the cells were treated with the control mixture. The mixture contains molecules which also occur in the blood, but were ineffective during the experiments. Now, in the next, you can see here that the active mixture was added, the mixture that contains all 16 chosen molecules. This time, all the tumour cells were destroyed. Essentially, they don't have the ability to divide. The next shows that though all cells were destroyed, we reduced the amount of the active mixture, half of the previous amount were given to the cells, and all tumorous cells were destroyed, but some of them could divide at least once before their destruction. The next picture shows that after halving the amount of the active mixture again, we could reach the equilibrium where there is cell death and cell division at the same time. This is the critical value when it is decided which way things will go. We halve the amount of the active mixture again, in other words, we reduce the effectiveness of the defense, and then it can be seen that, though the cells keep perishing, more are being created. Cell division overcompensates cell death. We treated them before, at the same time, and they received this drug afterwards. It completely represses the expression of this gene. Well, this 0 is an arbitrary unit, and this is 20 times that much, so it represses.
Szoros, ez egy ilyen önkéntes ességet jelent, 0, ez pedig 20-szorosa. Tehát visszanyomja.
About how much later could it become a drug? I can only say years. Do you believe in this research? Yes, I do, otherwise I wouldn't be involved. I participate in as many researches as I can, and I believe only if I can do it with my own 2 hands. The infrastructural background is the same as the USA. I think I can say that. Or, for example, in Western Europe, but this infrastructure must be operated. We need staff, chemicals and money. That's what we're short of. Is this an invention of worldwide importance? I can't say that. We can have expectations at least. It certainly gives us cause for optimism. I say it gives us optimism that we can work with it, and there are signs. And you work with it, of course. We have worked on it, and we will continue to do so. My first thought was this was for an illness that could change the face of medical science. So I do not really understand why it all stagnates at this level, because people do not really have anything to lose with it. He found something for an illness with which many people could live more comfortably and perhaps live longer. And we all of us miss someone who died early like this.
There's a lot of resistance towards this preparation, even among doctors. They consider it quackery, they do not take it seriously. Yes, once at a training session we were discussing a tumour-diseased patient who already was pretty well past hope. And I asked whether they had heard about this treatment or offered it, and they dismissed the use of such naturopathy and snake oil as quack remedies.
If it's examined just as scientific work, you have to say that it's something that no one has ever dealt with before. It's a completely new approach to the body's anti-tumour defense system. If it's proven, it really is a Nobel Prize-winning discovery. So many people acknowledged him when he defended his thesis at the Academy. They said it was the biggest event of recent times. Many people supported him, saying this was a very good thing. And when they tried human trials and administered it in combination with other anti-tumour drugs, they achieved quite awesome results. How much